What's up everybody, I'm Adam, you're watching the Model Aviator channel, and this week we're coming at you with a new episode in our Quick Look Fun Flight series. Today we're going to be taking a look at the FMS 90mm Super Scorpion V2 Sport Jet. Like most 90mm EDFs, the Super Scorpion V2 is a very large, very fast jet. Obviously, the safest place to fly something like this is always going to be some sort of dedicated, sanctioned flying area. FMS sells this as a plug and play, which means all the electronics are already installed for you, except for the receiver. They leave it up to you to decide what radio protocol you'd like to use and install your receiver of choice yourself. A full-range receiver is highly recommended given the speed of this. It is a 6 or 7 channel airplane out of the box. You have elevator, twin rudders, a steerable nose wheel, ailerons, flaps, retractable gear, of course throttle control, and there's an extra signal wire coming off that ESC that you can plug into a 7th channel to incorporate thrust reverse. Obviously, if you want to use some sort of gyro stabilizer, depending upon which one you use, you may need an 8th channel to flip between the modes on that. When it comes to features, the Super Scorpion V2 has most of what you would expect a 90mm sport jet to have. You've got plastic bits in all their strategic places, like the nose cone, the intakes, the tailpipe, and where the wings meet the fuse. The landing gear is very nice and very aerodynamic. You've got gear covers on the oleo struts for the mains, and you have a sequencing nose gear door for the nose retract. When it comes to an airplane that goes this fast, this size, you definitely want pin hinges on all the high-speed surfaces, and this one does have them on the ailerons, the rudders, and the elevators. The flaps are a foam hinge, but they're typically deployed at a much slower speed, so that should be fine. When it comes to field assembly and disassembly, it's very simple. You have a single wing tube, automatic electronic connections, and only 2 screws per wing. Now, what makes this a V2 Super Scorpion versus the old one? Well, there's 3 things. The first thing is you can get it in a 6S version, which we have here, as well as an 8S version with more power. You can get it in 2 paint schemes, the camo that we have on the bench and a very bright orange paint scheme if you so choose. And the final thing that they changed is they improved how robust the CNC machined aluminum oleo struts, trailing link struts are, and of course they have a very good suspension system. Finally, this is a convenient top loader with a pen latch. It has a battery bay large enough for the recommended size packs, which are 6L 5000 to 6000s. The ESC lead is a bit short. I found that what makes getting that in there much easier is to just plug the battery up first and then put it into the battery tray. When it comes to the assembly, the part count is very low. There's no glue required, and the manual does a really good job of taking you through the steps of assembly. Now, we did hit a little bit of a snag with this one. When it comes to installing the verticals, it was a little bit of a pain. One of our mounting brackets on the fuse had some excess glue. We had to take a hobby knife and remove that glue and get that out of the way. And then one of the inside brackets on one of the verticals, we actually had to Dremel a little bit of that area away to get it to install properly. That's not a big deal. It's unseen once the vertical is installed, but that's what we had to do to get it on. Another real good suggestion is there is a channel in each vertical that will be unseen once you install it. Put your servo connection there instead of trying to stuff it down in the fuse with the fan. There's just not really enough room to do that. Now, I can't say that every Scorpion will have that issue with getting the verticals on, but mine did. Bottom line, it's really no hill for a climber. Anybody that has the skill enough to fly this airplane should have enough modeling skill to get this thing together and get past something like that. When it comes to setup, we fly Spectrum, so we used an AR631 Plus receiver. We're not utilizing Safe Select, we are utilizing AS3X Plus. I installed that receiver on the side here, cut a slot in the foam, and ran the antenna forward of the battery tray. When it comes to mechanical adjustments, all the ball links are exactly where they were from the factory. On the control horns, we did put the push rods in the outermost hole of all the servo arms on the rudders, elevators, and ailerons. When it comes to our balance point, we're at 145 millimeters from the leading edge of the wing where it meets the fuselage, where you plug it in. We measured that. Battery in, gear down, airplane upside down. When it comes to our expo settings for aileron, we're at 100% rates, 16% expo. Elevator, we are 85% rates, 15% expo. Rudder, we're at 100% rates, 20% expo. Here are our AS3X Plus settings. You can pause that and take a look at it. And here are our flap settings as well. When it comes to flight characteristics, we'll narrate a bit during the flight, so I'll give you most of my thoughts there. A few things I do want to go over here, though. We flew the airplane primarily on 6000. We got a Spectrum Pro Air 6000 and a Uwu 6000 graphene. This one is a good bit heavier than this. We put both these batteries in the center of that battery tray, and the airplane, from a balance perspective, I'm sure the difference in weight changes it ever so slightly, but you can't notice in the flying. So just put a 6000 in the center of that tray and you are good to go. You can probably do the same thing with a 5000. It'll be a little bit more rearward, but the airplane will still fly just fine. When it comes to stabilizer or no stabilizer, the airplane was very stable without it, but we got into a pretty windy day that day, and I was really glad I set it up on AS3X Plus by the end of the day, so it will certainly make a difference when the conditions get windy. When it comes to skill level, this is a solid flying airplane, but 90 millimeter sport jets, given the cost of them, they intimidate a lot of people. It's not difficult to fly per se, but I think they're a lot less intimidating first ever EDFs. I think this would be a really good second jet after you master something a little bit less intimidating, if you will. Now, when it comes to the price point, it's $539. That is $30 cheaper than their 90 millimeter Avanti, and I think that's fair. I'll tell you why. The only thing the Avanti has out of the box, if you don't buy anything extra, that this airplane doesn't have is LED lights. And when it comes to adding LED lights to a plane, there's a common misconception in this hobby. People think it's $10 or $15 worth of LEDs and super simple to do. It is not. The Avanti is a new mold. It was designed very recently, and the idea of lights was incorporated into that design and into the making of the mold. This is an older mold that was not designed with lights. To incorporate lights, to have channels for the wires, places for the lenses themselves, they would have to design and tool a brand new mold. That cost what a very expensive nice car cost. It is crazy the expense to do that, and that is probably the reason that they didn't do that. So I think a $30 difference in another sport jet on their website that really is only packing one thing more than this thing is, which is lights. That's $569. This is $539. I think that's pretty fair. If you'd like to add a Scorpion to your hangar, it is a very unique looking jet. You have a lot of options. You can get 6 or 8S, 2 different paint jobs. Very cool airplane. We'll put links in the description where you can do just that. When you go through those links, it helps support our channel, and when you do that, Heidi and I appreciate it. Thank you. That's it for us. Happy flying. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you next week with something cool with wings. Enjoy the flight. The Super Scorpion is a really unique looking sport jet. It isn't as popular as more common jets like Vipers and Avantis, but I think the fact that it is so different is part of what makes it such an attractive jet to have. You're not going to see everybody at your field with one of these. On this flight, the wind had picked up quite a bit. The fact that this jet is big and has some mass and well-tuned AS3X Plus makes all the difference. It slows down nicely. That was about as slow and as low as I dared get in the wind we had. It was a little bit of a crosswind, and it was tricky once you got it down on the deck in ground effect. It has a wide speed envelope and it's very stable throughout the speed range. The Super Scorpion can easily maintain knife edge as far as you want to do one, and has all the aerobatic capability you'd expect a good sport jet to have. It's very stable inverted, and while it requires a little more down elevator than some sport jets I've flown, not overly so, and there's plenty left over to push out when you're done. It will do a respectable tumble, and with regards to CG, we're never looking for a perfectly neutral CG with a sport jet. We don't mind a little bit of down pressure when inverted. With 5,000s and 6,000s in the center of that tray, it flew fine to us. It slowed down well and landed respectably short considering we weren't using thrust reverse. Sit tight, we're going to do a quick takeoff and another landing, and then we'll show you some stall tests. It has no problem getting off the ground quickly if you need to. Here's a clean stall test. And it literally just drops the nose straight forward and does not drop a wing. Very docile. We're going to drop the flaps and the gear, do a dirty stall, and you'll notice it does the same exact thing. Really impressed by that. This is a great jet. Very stable, very predictable, really solid, flies good. We enjoyed it. We think you will too if you want to add one to your hangar. Take care. We'll see you next week.